This week I'm baking the Masala Chai Carrot Cake from The New Way to Cake. I've made a couple of things from this book and it's been really successful so far, so let's see how we get on with this one. First up, I am weighing out some plain flour and then adding baking powder and bicarbonate of soda and sea salt, cinnamon, ginger, cloves, all the spices, basically. Freshly ground black pepper and also cardamom. I don't know if I added it in that order in the recipe in the video here, but that's the order in the recipe. So then mix that together till it's all kind of nicely combined. You don't really want pockets of spice, so I'm just using my little whisk for that. And then I'm adding some brown sugar. I think this is soft light brown sugar. And then I add the eggs, and I also brewed a small amount of breakfast tea. So obviously it's to get that kind of chai flavour. Oh, hold on, get a bit of shell. Gotta fish that out. Can't have crunchy bits in the cake. So yeah, after the eggs, then I'm going to be adding some breakfast tea, nice dark tea, with probably a little bit of lime scale because this is London and all tea seems to have scale on it. Extra taste. So giving that a bit of a mix, just so it's fully combined. And then I'm adding vegetable oil. It's a really simple recipe, actually, very quick and easy to make, and there's no special equipment, which is quite nice. Just a whisk or two, but it's nice to have those easy to do recipes. And then some grated carrots. I think this ended up being about 3 or 4 carrots in the end. It's always hard to know, isn't it, when they're like 300 grams of carrots, and you're like, how many is this? Although I did half the amount of this recipe because I didn't want 2 layers, so I just did a single layer and half the amount of the cake batter. And so mixing in the carrots, we're actually just trying to fold them in as best as possible so they're evenly just distributed. And then after that, it's the flour mixture that I whisked up earlier. Again, I'm folding it in, trying to be as gentle as possible, but folding takes a while, doesn't it? And you always end up with pockets and little bits everywhere. But I tried. It said, "Oh, it's just gone a bit quiet." It's because my oven's just switched off. So yeah, just trying to fold that in, get the flour incorporated as much as possible, and then that's pretty much the cake recipe. So once it's all nicely combined, you can see that's starting to look pretty even. I always try and scrape along the bottom to make sure there's no pockets of flour underneath. But then that's going to go into a 20 centimetre lined cake tin. Look at the state of that lining. But still. So that's going into the cake tin now. And in the book, she has the oven at 180, but I've got a fan oven, so I did it for 160. I'm going to see if the recipe is online, and if it is, I'll add a link to it below, but if not, I'll add a link to the cookbook. And then that goes into the oven, and again, in the book it says 35 to 40 minutes, but mine actually took half an hour, so it was a bit faster. And then I'm doing the icing, which is a cream cheese icing. This, you do need either an electric whisk or a stand mixer or just excellent biceps. I used a stand mixer. So first up, it's some unsalted butter, which is kind of room temp, nicely softened. And to that, I'm going to be adding the icing sugar, which will naturally coat your kitchen, but also looks kind of magical and Harry Potter-esque, which I'm always happy about. So that gets mixed up, so I'll pop it in the stand mixer and beat it until it's really nice and pale and smooth, as you can see there. And then I'll add the cream cheese, and she said just to beat it until it was combined, so it's not necessarily a long beat after this. And then that's the cake, so that's out of the oven and it's cooled. So it cooled completely in the pan, and then I iced it. Icing isn't my forte, as you might have gathered by now. I'm very much a splodge and a smear and eat it as fast as possible, which I think is no bad thing. So I'm just gonna dollop that all onto the top, and then I do have a little offset spatula which I try and smudge it around with. But I hope you can see it was a really simple cake, and pretty good to do if you don't have much equipment. The only thing would be the icing at the end. And I thought the flavour coming through was really, really lovely, that kind of nice chai taste. So to have that in a cake, and it kind of makes so much sense to have it in a carrot cake as well, which is usually cinnamon or maybe some cardamom, so it was nice to kind of boost those flavours. And it was kind of really moist. Sorry guys, people who don't like that word. I felt like maybe could have done with some crunch, maybe some walnuts. In the actual recipe she does say to decorate with walnut halves, which I couldn't be asked to do. But I think that could have been a nice counterpoint. But maybe some chopped walnuts throughout as well. So if you can see, it's nice, and again the word moist, and it looks dense, but it was actually really quite light. I guess it's to do with the folding, and it was lovely, and my partner really liked it, and he's not usually a fan of carrot cake, so that's a ringing endorsement. Anyway, I hope you liked this week's bake, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.